Hi everyone and welcome to this video. In this video I'm trying a bit of an art experiment and I'm trying Posca paint pens and Copic markers on the same drawing. So recently I tried out Posca pens for the first time and it was really exciting to finally try pens like this because they're completely out of my comfort zone and they're different from all the other art supplies I'm used to. So I'm interested to see what it would look like to add these two very different art supplies on the same drawing and what sort of effects their different qualities would give. And I wanted to see if it would have a positive or a negative effect overall. I really didn't know if this was going to work, but I was excited to give this idea a try in my sketchbook. I also wanted to mention that after recently trying out Posca pens for the first time, I picked up another set of 8. They're pastel colours, but the main reason I chose them is because these ones are a little bit smaller than the previous set of colours I chose, so I was hoping that this would help me if I wanted to work on some smaller details in this drawing. And as you can see, I tried out all the new colours on a grid that I drew beforehand, and then I compared it alongside all the other colour options I had with my first set of Posca pens. Having these colour grids next to me as I worked helped a lot when it came to choosing the colours for this drawing. I recorded some of my planning stages for this drawing, and I'd had this idea in my head for a while, and this felt like an awesome opportunity to try it out, so I wanted to try another cyberpunk design. There's something about Posca pens that inspires these ideas, and I find them so exciting to work on. So I wanted to draw a cyberpunk kind of robot skull character, and I wanted them to be contrasted with nature, maybe surrounded by leaves. And I knew I also wanted to add a butterfly in there somewhere. So thinking about this project and why I wanted to work on it, on one hand you have Copic markers where you're able to build up layers and they're alcohol based so you can blend them on the paper. Then on the other hand you have Posca pens that create thick, opaque layers of paint, and when I used them recently it was so fun to add vibrant blocks of solid colour. And there's such a contrast between them that I really wanted to use them on the same drawing to see what effect it would give, with the smooth gradients of shading of the Copics and the bright blocks of colour from the Posca pens. And I had absolutely no idea if this would work or not, but that's why I'm loving working in this sketchbook at the moment, trying out these different and experimental art ideas. I guess it should be possible to blend with Poscas as well. I haven't looked into it yet, and I haven't tried it for myself, but it would be really interesting to see if it's possible to get a smooth gradient blending between the different Posca pens. I'll look into it and see if it's possible. For this drawing though, I wanted to stick to solid blocks of colour with the Poscas, contrasting the shading with the Copics. I was excited to see what the effect would be, and once I'd gained enough of an idea of what I wanted to draw, I moved over to the next clean page of my sketchbook and started getting it all planned out. Once the sketch was completed, I decided to start with Copics, adding all the layers of shading to the skull first, and I started with light shading first, with cool grey 1 and 3, and then I built up darker layers on top of that with cool grey 5 and 7. And eventually I also used a black marker in some areas to really add to the depth. I was also making sure to blend in some areas between the markers to create some nice smooth gradients. After adding all of the Copic shading to the skull, it was time for me to start adding some Posca pen details, and I started with the smaller pastel pens, and they helped a lot with the little details in this area. You might notice that in a couple of areas at this stage I changed my mind about the colour choices, and the great thing about Posca pens is that you can just add the new colour choice on top and there won't be any issues. These pens create an opaque layer of paint, and they're so fun to work with. You can just add layers and you don't have to worry about the previous layer showing through. It reminds me so much of acrylic painting. The thing with Poscas that I found out the first time I used them, it works a lot better if you add the blocks of colour first and then you add the outlines and the highlights. This helped me quite a lot because I have much finer black and white Posca pens, and this allowed me to use the outlining and the highlighting to clean and sharpen the overall shapes that I added. This method actually helped me massively throughout this drawing, but it especially helped me when working on the metal areas around the character's neck and shoulders, for the dark grey section specifically, because I used a much thicker pen for the dark grey, and so it would have been very difficult to add the smooth, straight edges that I wanted. Being able to rely on much smaller black and white Posca pens to add those cleaner outlines and highlights meant that I didn't need to worry too much, which was really nice. So far, it's been such a great experience to finally try these pens out, and I've been looking forward to working on drawings like this because it's truly out of my art comfort zone, and I think it's so awesome and so important to get out of your comfort zone sometimes. For me, with these pens, it actually felt so refreshing to try them out in this sketchbook, learning new methods that I could eventually apply to future drawings and paintings. And so, as you can see for this character, so far I chose to add a lot of grey tones, and then I contrasted them with a couple of the new Poscas that I got, Apricot and Coral Pink. It took me a while to decide on the colours I wanted to use in the background and for the leaves surrounding the character, and I eventually decided on light blue and pink. I liked the idea of adding lots of vibrant, warm colouring surrounding the mostly grey tones of the character, hoping it would make them stand out quite nicely. And for the leaves I used light pink in the background and lavender in the foreground. For the butterfly, I chose to use Copic markers on its wings, and I blended between aqua, ice blue, and pale blue-grey. The pale blue-grey marker works amazingly because it has a nice pink tone that matches the colour of the leaves in the background. Then I used the black, grey and white Posca pens to add the rest of the details to the butterfly. Then I just continued adding and sharpening the outlines and highlights around the drawing. I decided not to add outlining around the skull because I felt like that would flatten the effect of the shading I'd added with the Copics. I liked how it was looking without any bold outlines or highlights. And finally, to sharpen some of the line work a little bit more, as a final touch, I used a Copic multiliner SP 0.1, and then after that this drawing was completed. I honestly really loved working on this, it was so fun, and the contrast between the Copics and the Poscas definitely works, with the shading on the skull surrounded by the blocks of colour. And I'm so glad I tried this, and I feel like I did learn from this project, which is great. So be sure to let me know what you think of this, and also let me know if you have any suggestions for future art videos I should try. Any art challenges or tutorials, anything at all. Your suggestions help me so much. If you're interested in seeing more of my videos, then feel free to subscribe to this channel, and any likes or shares on this video are hugely appreciated. If you want to follow and support my art progress, then be sure to check out the links in the description for my Twitter, Facebook, Instagram and Patreon. And once again, thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for the support. I really appreciate it. I hope you're all doing okay, and I hope you're having a great day, and I'll see you all soon.